And hello, everyone. Welcome back to the TBM crew. Today, I have with me a very, very, very special author, Dani Brown. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here because I think you represent a different style in horror, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, tell me a bit about it. How would you explain to the people
Um,
listening to us, how is your style? Why is it different?
well, my background is experimental writing, and I try to bring some of that into the horror. And sometimes I just write experimental stuff, and my stuff is weird and it is out there. I don't hold back. Sometimes there's some pretty extreme, pretty horrible content.
Yes.
Just gross.
Do you think that you have a big influence on that, or is this just a style you have created on your own?
There are some outside influences. So I'm a very visual person, so I think more in visuals rather than words. And I always have music on when I'm writing.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what music it is, it just needs to go with the story. So it may be a band I had never listened to before if it works with the story. So I'll put up like a random YouTube playlist until I find something that feels comfortable with the story I'm working on.
Okay. And do you think, is there a parallel kind of a style in movies, in horror movies? Like you could say, this movie really seems like my kind of aura.
Sometimes I don't really get to watch many horror movies these days. So I'm sure there's probably something with similarities, but I probably haven't seen it.
Yeah. Sometimes the experimental movies are from the northern countries, that they have different kind of vision on things. Sometimes they are the weirdest kind of movies I have watched. They happen to be from Finland or this kind of different backgrounds.
Yes.
So
the Scandinavian country movies.
Yes, and if you had to choose one book for readers to start with, like I want to try Dani Brown's style, which book do you think they should start with for the brave?
That's a good question. I think Becoming might be a good one because it's written in a very experimental style, but it's very extreme, it's very, very intense, and it's also very, very bleak. Now, you don't usually find all three of the, and it's weird, you don't find all of that in every of my books, so that one seems to incorporate everything. But if you're gonna start with that one, you have to read it to the end because nothing makes sense until the end.
Sometimes those are the best books that you really It's like the movies that you don't find, you can't figure out anything, like what's happening, and suddenly you know,
all makes sense.
Do you have any new projects going on?
Oh yes, lots of new projects in the background. So I am doing fucking Scumbags Burn in Hell season 2. So I was part of the first one with the scratching post. So I've got to turn my story notes into a draft of a story over the weekend. And then I've got I've had to put I've been rewriting fairy tales in my unique style. I know that's, you know, a lot of writers do that, but you know, you can read 10 of the same fairy tale from 10 different authors and they're all going to be very different. So I've had to put Snow White on the back burner for now to get some summer releases done. So I've got my Stephen Tucker series going on. I've got something I've been calling Stupid Things Extreme. Now, I've never done this before, but I've taken stuff from real life, stuff that somebody has said to me, and it's had to have been really stupid.
That sounds like fun. I like that idea.
I'm building a story around that, so it probably has nothing to do with what happened in real life with somebody saying something stupid, but it's been a lot of fun with that. So I did do I released one of those in January called Name Dropping with Hayden. And that one, somebody had told me Michael Jackson communicates to him from beyond the grave. I'm like, well, that's
Awesome.
ridiculous. And I'm scared of Michael Jackson.
Yes. Wow,
So,
that's amazing.
that was definitely, it was very, very fun to write. It was a quick write. So very fun. So I've got another one. I've got notes for it. It's called Girl Boss. And this one is, I was setting up my business, and you hand out leaflets and stuff when you're setting up a business. My business is now closed because my life's moved on since then. I had an email from one of those multi-level marketing schemes. I think it was for one that if I was going to be involved in a multi-level marketing thing, it would be for a product that I actually like makeup, rather than, I think it was a diet shake one or something. And the person who I was with at the time said, "Oh, you should sign up for that." I'm like, "Do you know what that is?" Like, you don't make any money off of it. You just burn money going into it.
Yeah.
They're like a pyramid scheme. So I'm having fun with that. And I was going to resurrect my Chester and Lester stories, which are just disgusting. A lot of fun. So they take they're two brothers. They take human semen, they're their own. One of them makes ice with it, and the other one uses it for beard cream and hair gel. And they sell these products to the masses, and it's just really disgusting, but they're fun, and people seem to like them.
I think that horror readers really should check out your work, because I think that it's something so different, that it's out of the usual, and that it's just like a breakthrough, right? It's something very, very different. And I also know that you like art, right? That you draw.
Yes, I do.
Yes. And how do you do that?
I love medieval art. Initially I was a painter using acrylic paints, but then obviously before we started recording, I said my life has changed since our last interview 4 years ago, and I have a bit more money now, and I was able to buy Prismacolor pencils, which I've wanted for years, but they're about £200 for the set. And I bought those. I've been using them to draw weird things just based on medieval manuscript illustrations, and you can find these illustrations online. You just put in medieval manuscript illustration. If you want to look for something specific, so say a drunken monkey medieval manuscript, you can find it.
Yes, we'll link it so everyone can check it out, of course.
Thank you.
Of course. And what do you think is the best and the worst part of the process of writing and publishing a book for you? What's more fun? And
I like it when I get that, I write my first draft and it's just a chunk of text, and then I hit the interspace between each sentence so I can see each sentence separately, and I start building the story around that. And it's when I'm building the story in that stage that I'm really enjoying it. It's getting that initial draft onto the screen, though. That's
like filling up a cake.
Yes, and I started self-publishing during the lockdowns. Like, it's something I always wanted to do. And I think the formatting's probably the worst part of that. But I want, instead of hiring somebody to do it, I want to learn how to do it all myself before I start outsourcing it.
Yes. And I have a question because I guess that having such an extreme style, so to speak, I guess that you might get also strong reviews on them, right?
Yes, sometimes. It's the worst review I had was for one of my tamer stories. It was a bizarro story called Sparky the Spunky Robot. And
I remember that one.
Yes. The reviews were very mixed on that. Some said that it needed to be longer, and others like this should be condensed down into a short story. And I'm like, there was no in between. There was no, this is the perfect length.
Yes.
So it was either marked down because it was too long or marked down because it was too short. And I found that quite amusing.
Exactly. I guess maybe the readers that like your work are also maybe they have like a special kind of taste in horror. So maybe it's easy that someone has an opinion and the other one. And when you have a bad review, how do you take it? What's your process in your mind?
It depends on what the review actually says. Like the ones for Sparky, I just found amusing because they just couldn't agree.
Yes.
But if something's a fair comment, and the person reading it has taken the time to say, well, I didn't like it because such and such a reason. If it's well thought out and stuff, I will consider that for future stories, because obviously, but if something's a ridiculously bad review for no reason whatsoever, then that's marketing material for the stuff I write.
Yes, sometimes those are the best reviews, because sometimes a review that says that was horrible, that's a good review for a horror book. I mean, maybe it's a bad one in stars, but it's a good review. I mean, someone who purchases a book of yours, having read the blurb and knowing where they are at, it makes no sense that they say, I didn't like it because it was too much. I mean, you knew where you were at.
There's probably some warnings on it. So I do find people don't typically randomly pick up my books. They tend to have an idea of who I am to begin with.
Exactly. So what would be, in this case, what would be your advice for authors that also have an extreme horror style? What have you learned along the time with that?
People are gonna think that you actually live that life. So definitely be on social media and let people know who you really are.
Yeah.
Let them in, let them see. You know, I've just posted a picture of one of my pigeons, or a pigeon that's adopted me, on social media. So it's like, that's hardly extreme lifestyle here.
Yeah.
So let people in, let them see who you are, and that you're not this scary person who goes and drinks blood and eats maggots and does disgusting, horrible things.
Yes, exactly. That's like when an actor plays an evil role in a movie or in a show, and people just attacks them in the street, like, no, I'm not that person. It's exactly the same. I was in another chat that I have with D.E. McCluskey, that he writes also extreme, and he said, well, this person took a book of mine and she never talked to me again. Like it it has nothing to do. But that is actually a very good advice, because I think that maybe some new authors that are really brave to write this kind of out limit style, maybe they get, I don't know, held back or intimidated by people leaving bad reviews or being judged, right?
Yes.
So I guess that's a very good advice for them. And can you remember which was the first horror book you read?
First horror book I read, it was the first book I read. It was Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King.
Okay. Well, that's a good beginning.
I'm severely dyslexic, so I couldn't read until I was 10, which is about the average age somebody with dyslexia learns how to read. And I had to teach myself because there wasn't all this help for dyslexic people at the time. And I was off school sick, and my mother had a bunch of Stephen King books. I just took one and a dictionary and a sheet of paper, and to get the words to stop moving in the book, I ran the paper underneath it. And I really enjoyed Dolores Claiborne because I was only 10 years old, so I didn't quite grasp all of it. But it was, I credit Stephen King with me knowing how to read. So, and when I was that age, I would only read stuff by Stephen King until I was about 15 or 16.
Wow. Well, no wonder you have a good background in horror. I mean, since you were so young. I remember an English teacher played in the English class, and when we were 13, she just said The Ring to us, and we were 13. And I was terrified for 5 years. It was horrible.
In Spanish class, we watched Home Alone.
Oh, but why do they do that?
I don't know. We got to watch Home Alone, and then we switched it for the English one, and we timed how long it would take the teacher to notice.
Wow. It's still now when someone asks me what is the most terrifying movie, I say The Ring. Because maybe now I wouldn't feel like that, but I still have linked the feeling, you know, that it was horrible. So it really gets into your mind what you read or what you watch when you are so young. That's why I say, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's one of the, I don't know, the triggers for you just having such a great imagination into horror. Because I
grew up in New England. I grew up in New England where everything's haunted, and Stephen King does not make up everything in those books.
Something I like to ask everyone, because I get very interesting answers, is if you had to choose a superpower, which one would you choose?
Ooh.
It's not easy because there are a lot of them.
I think I'd like to fly, really.
That's amazing. Mine is to breathe underwater.
I can see why that would be useful too.
Yes, and I think because the ocean kind of horror, it's always been so scary for me. I love it, and I always been so in love with all the sailor kind of legends and all of these, the monster mermaids and all of that. I thought if I could just see what's in there, right? If you now had to change something in your learning process, like since you have started writing to now, would you change something that you have learned later on, or like, if I started doing that in that moment, something like that?
I took creative writing at university. I was taught to write the complete opposite of who I am. And I think I would have brought in stuff like stupid things people have said to me and stuff like that a bit sooner. Sometimes I refer to knitting techniques when I'm writing a story, because that's what I know. And I think I would have, again, brought in, when comparing, you know, it's usually something disgusting, but I'm usually discussing it as I would be teaching somebody how to knit. So you put the loop through this way. I think I would have brought that in a lot sooner.
Yes. Well, maybe that's also a good advice for people that can find the same situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the same balance.
Exactly.
Bringing in some of what you know, but I still often stick to the opposite. But I just splash in a bit of what I know now, whether it's with knitting techniques or.
Yeah. And are you always completely happy with your books when they are published? Or do you think, I should have changed this scene or this character?
Not always. I think the book I wrote around the time of our last interview, I wrote it in January, February 2018.
Yes.
And my long-term boyfriend had left, but he didn't just leave. He had to tear apart my life first. And I was very post-traumatic.
Yeah.
I had this deadline, and I think, looking at it, because I'm getting all those books back now, and I am not republishing that one. There's one I'm not republishing at all, and it's that one. And there's one that I'm going to go back because it had some reviews saying some of the grammar's a bit off. So I'm just going to go back and look through it. Look through it again with the editing and see if there's any changes that can be made. But I would not have let that book, it came out in July 2018. I would not have let it gone to print. I would not have written it if I didn't have a deadline. I would have just, stayed trying to pick up all the pieces that my now ex-boyfriend had. He took all the pieces of my life and it was like going.
Yes, I understand.
Blowing it everywhere.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. But then immediately finishing that book, like within 4 weeks of finishing that book. I wrote probably one of my best books ever, which was 56 Seconds. And I wrote Becoming immediately after that. And
yes.
I love those 2 books. And it's just amazing. I wrote the one I hate the most just before writing those 2.
Well, maybe that's what you needed, to have that canon to write the other 2. Sometimes things just come for the best at the end, right?
Yes. I can definitely see being in that relationship was not healthy and see what effect it had on my writing.
Yeah.
Because I have to be happy to write, and how I'm much happier now. So I'm much happier with some of what I'm writing.
Yeah, of course.
And I feel much better about it. Even when sometimes some stuff like Snow White's been a very slow write, but it's going to be about 120,000 words when it's done. So of course it's going to take ages. But some stuff like Name Dropping with Hayden only took 2 weeks to write. But it was just so much fun, and I was just really, really enjoying it.
That's so impressive. Really. I can't write one single paragraph. Can't. A book in 2 weeks is like, wow. And do you like especially any of your characters, like that you have fallen in love with a character of yours, someone special in your books?
Ooh, I like DJ Donnie a lot. He's from 56 Seconds, and Marcy, who's the Angel of Death, and she appears in quite a few books. And she's got a rival who was a previous Angel of Death who just refuses to let go and fully passed away.
Yeah.
And her name's Gloria, but she goes by the name the Tentacle Queen. She's appeared in a few short stories so far. I do have 3 books with her in them, but they're not ready yet. I need to go through and fix the drafts basically before I let them out into the world. But they are there. They're just not published because they're not ready to be published.
Okay.
So those 3 characters are quite special to me.
Yes. Well, then we'll have to read all of that then.
Yes.
Okay. We're running out of time. I can't believe a half an hour went by. Is there any message you want to send to readers?
No, just enjoy the books and follow me on social media. Get to know the real me rather than what you see in the books.
Exactly. We'll link everything below, everything. So thank you so much, Dani, for your time. I was looking forward so much to talking to you because it's been like such a long time. Right?
And so much has changed. It seems like a lifetime ago.
Exactly. So thank you so much for your time, for being here today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and have a lovely day.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.